friends, welcome back. And if you're new here, if this is the first time you're seeing my face, I hope what you're going to see here as far as content encourages you and motivates you to like and subscribe. That way you can see all of my future content. I would love to have you along on my journey, and go ahead and drop me a comment and let me know that you're a new subscriber and tell me a little bit about your journey thus far. I love hearing about everyone's journey, and you definitely don't know who you might encourage and inspire just within the comment section. So today currently is Thursday. It is July 6th. It is kind of a little out of whack when you have a holiday that falls right smack almost in the middle of the week. So between my days and then the number of the day kind of gets thrown out of whack. So I just wanted to make sure I was mentioning the date correctly. So I did want to go ahead and first and foremost share my meal. I've already kind of dug into it. It is 2:05 p.m. right now. So I'm going to go in just with something very, very simple. Currently here, I simply just have 4 over easy eggs. I simply just bit into the 5th one over here, so that is gone and devoured already. Currently right now, I am in my office. I did want some news to be shared with you all, but I definitely did want to wait because I am the type that I do not like to rush when it comes to news. So as you all know, I have really been trying to find new employment ever since I had left my toxic employer that I had August of last year of 2022. I really focused on getting myself back to a consistent, better health journey. So I did not rush immediately to go and find another career, another employment. I wanted to be able to give myself some time, and I wanted to allow my body, I wanted to allow mentally and emotionally, I wanted my body to have time to unload all of that mental stress that it had gone through when I was with that employer for almost 23 months. It was a lot to unload, and definitely I noticed that, especially when I started my triple B&E as well as the incorporation of Carnivore. I definitely realized how much it benefited that I gave myself that time. So we definitely were fortunate because I am not the sole breadwinner for our household. So most definitely, my husband through that time was the sole person that was working. And thankfully, even though, to be real with you all, because as I always say, I am perfectly imperfect, but I rather be real than perfect. So in the real, are funds tight on one income? Absolutely. I'm sure anyone can relate, with what we're dealing with today with inflation and just the prices of everything going up related to the inflation. Yes, can we always do with 2 incomes being better off? Absolutely. I'm sure any household could most definitely agree with that, no matter how much leeway that one income is providing them. So for me, it was a little bit difficult because I knew, taking into consideration my work experience, the degrees that I have, I know how much money financially, stability wise, how much I can contribute to the household. So of course, I always had that thought behind, my whole process of going through my healing. But right now, I am just so happy that I gave myself that time, that I definitely showed myself some grace, and I did not let the money aspect of things devour me. I made sure to give myself that time. And just a little bit of backstory, just to kind of tell you all, because it will most definitely kind of set the foundation for what I'm going to share with you all next. So I have had things, and whether you're a believer or not, this is not a debate on that. So I have gone through things since literally I was in my mother's womb. So we had particular family members that felt the need while my mother was pregnant with me for them to kind of stir up some evil. So they were trying to stir up some evil. So basically what they did was, when my mother was out for the day with me in her womb and my two older siblings, she went out for the day, and she went out for a long trip wherever she went. And these particular family members knew that she was going to be out for a great deal of the day. So they took it upon themselves to set something up to kind of spew evil in the house, is what their intention was. So time went on, and my mother, she had an appointment for the household because, in those times, and, basically you're talking about like the late 70s, 80s, a lot of the houses had carpet. Right now in our day and age, the new thing is wood flooring, laminate flooring, tile, wood looking tile. But in those times, you had a lot of carpet, and you had a lot of shag style carpet that required shampooing. So she had a service that came out regularly. The service came out, and lo and behold, as they were shampooing, they were wondering, what is staining the carpet? There is something that is staining the carpet. As they're shampooing, something is being absorbed and kind of sucking up from the carpet from below, more so, where you would have your padding. And lo and behold, they saw that it was some sort of ink. So they immediately stopped. They had told my mother, we don't know what's going on. Like, this is not the first time we're servicing your house, and there's something going on with your carpeting this time around. That if you would like, we can pull away part of the carpeting from the wall, and we could try to see what's going on. So come to find out, when they pulled part of the carpeting, there was pages of the Bible all along the carpeting. There were pages that were overlapping pages. So you can definitely tell, like, somebody definitely tore out all of the pages. And the main intention that they had was that the book, all those scriptures, the holy book, that people were walking on it, was the main intention that they had. Because, as I said, they wanted to spew evil. Because my mother was able to discover that this happened, that was rectified, resolved, everything was pulled up, carpeting had to be replaced. So in that aspect, they could not win when it came to trying to, spew whatever they were trying to. So whatever their intentions were, they failed with that first attempt. The next thing they attempted to do was, because my mother was pregnant with me, these particular family members, because my mother, she tried to kind of have the household kind of be in harmony. So still, she somewhat trusted these individuals to a certain extent. So she did not suspect, anything would go any further as far as them wanting to cause her or me in her womb any physical harm. But what ended up happening was, my mother went into labor early with me. Come to find out, when I was in a critical state, just kind of coming out of the womb, I had to go through a lot of life-saving months in the hospital, luckily I was actually able to meet one of the nurses when I got older. So I was actually able to hear her point of view of everything that happened. And she was, just in awe of seeing me. Simply my preteen years, she was so shocked to see me before her, because she simply just said that they really thought that I did not have a chance, because she said that there was not even a thread of hope that the staff was able to even be able to hold on to. So if that even tells you, always in the medical field, they always try to have some sort of hope and try to be optimistic. But if you have a nurse telling you that it was so bad to the point where they could not even see a glimmer of hope, the situation was really bad. So basically, she had basically mentioned to me that I was almost pretty much the little bit of heartbeat that they had from me. She said that I was borderline a stillbirth. And basically what they had found out was my mother had ingested rat poison. Because there was not any proof able to be placed on any particular individual. So whatever individual specifically did that, poisoned my mother's food, poisoned the food in the household with this rat poison. There was no criminal charges that were able to be taken out, because of course, at those times in the 80s, you did not have forensics the way that it is now. The way you see everything full blown on CSI on TV, it was not the case in the 80s. So whoever was around during that time and has that sort of knowledge, you can definitely understand that perspective. So it was one of those things that even my grandmother, she had told me from a very young age that, whatever evil these people tried to basically spew, she kind of felt like my life definitely was impacted by it. And I can definitely tell you, anything that I tried to achieve in my life, I always have to work 10 times harder than someone else that would have had the same opportunity. Some might say, oh, you know what, that's just your mentality. That's just the way you're looking at it, that you basically went through it the way you were meant to go through it. Fair enough. If that's your opinion, fair enough. But consistently, I've always had to fight very hard and work very hard. And it all just kind of reminds me to kind of what I went through in my childhood. So that is the main reason why my grandmother coined me, telling me that I was perfectly imperfect from the very beginning. So that is why, if no one heard the backstory of that, so that is simply why I decided to go with that name for my channel, because it was always such a fitting name, because I've always, throughout any journey that I've gone through, I've had to just work 10 times harder than the next. So as I mentioned, that little chat was going to kind of set the foundation for what I was going to mention to you all. So I did go through a very lengthy process with this particular employer. I cannot give too much details. I can definitely say that the position, it's still within the healthcare industry, because I do have over 23-year experience in the healthcare industry. But because with a lot of healthcare jobs, you sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. So I cannot give too many details out for that particular reason. So a lot of the positions, if you are working with a lot of people's information, that is where the employer would simply just have you sign that agreement, because they definitely don't want anyone to specifically know what you kind of have your hands on and what you have access to. They rather have that stay private. So I'm going to just share a little bit. So initially, this was only because of the type of tier that this position is, And the tier of pay that it is a very lengthy process to be able to go through the application process. So initially, I went through an application. Then I was emailed initially to do an assessment. I can definitely tell you the assessment, something happened with their end of their system. So right in the middle of the assessment, out of nowhere, the system just started selecting answers for me. And the selections it was making were entirely incorrect. Like, they were not even good guesses. They were flat out wrong answers that I was seeing. So I simply had to stop. I had to email their technical support team. And I had to mention to them, like, I need to retake this assessment because something is not right. The system started pre-selecting answers for me, and I am not going to have it remain as is because the answer choices it was doing were absolutely absurd. And if any recruiter or hiring manager had saw that, they would think like, oh my gosh, like, did this person even read the question? So thankfully, it took them a week to be able to reset the assessment. So I had to start all the way from the beginning again. So I went through that. Then once I completed the assessment, I had gotten invited for a video interview from a recruiter. Simply what I just had to do was I had to go through multiple choice answering for the interview, as well as there was a couple sections where I had to video record whatever answers they were looking for specific particular interview questions. So after 24 hours, I emailed a thank you to that recruiter that sent me the video interview invite, and I got a response back that the recruiter was questioning with me for the rate of pay that I mentioned in the video interview. She had said that the rate of pay that I was requesting for definitely surpassed what their range of pay consideration was for the position. So she questioned with me if I even wanted to move on further in the interview process. So she was basically wondering if I was going to settle for the lesser pay that they were supposedly offering. So for me, I said yes to her. I okayed it. You know, for me, I did not want to simply, in the moment with the recruiter, to basically lower my worth. I felt like that was something that I can simply take up possibly with the hiring manager or with any possible future steps within the hiring process. So I went ahead and agreed. It was per hour, multiple dollars less than what I had requested. So if that gives you an idea. So the next step was I ended up, after a whole month, I ended up getting notification from a recruiter that they wanted to schedule me with the hiring managers. I met with a panel of 2 hiring managers, and the interview went really well. I was able to have a professional interview. It was able to be very down to earth, very conversational, aside from being professional. So I was able to really connect with these 2 hiring managers, and nothing was mentioned in terms of pay. So for me, I left it alone. I did not question it. I simply just left it alone. So some time went by. So I had an interview with those hiring managers on a Tuesday. I was told that I would hear something at the latest by that Thursday. I had not heard anything. And when I did not hear from anyone, I reached out to the recruiter and I simply just questioned for a status. 24 hours passed by. I did not get an email from the recruiter. So I called the recruiter. He assured me that he received my email, but he had sent it to the manager that handles the recruitment. So he said that he'll email me back if he should hear anything from the manager of recruitment. Come that evening, I had a really unusual number that showed up on my cell phone. It did come up as a valid number, so it was not anything that identified itself as spam. So I went ahead and I answered it. And lo and behold, it was the manager of recruitment that wanted to personally call and reach out to me to tell me verbally. So normally, this company's process is to just send an email, a congratulatory email on whoever gets the position. But here he actually went the formal route of actually calling me to tell me that I got the position. So I was overjoyed for that. What was even more of a shocker to me is the pay that they were willing to give me superseded not only what I initially had asked for in that video interview, but it obviously superseded what the initial recruiter had told me, what they were willing to pay for the position. So if that goes to show you anything. So I went ahead and I accepted, obviously. And after accepting, it was the next steps of me going through the background check. There were hoops and loops that I had to go through with the background check because my name was pulling up for addresses that I did not have any association with. So I did have a lot that I had to prove in terms of where I was living at the time. So then again, having to work 10 times harder to get what I deserved. And when it came to the drug screening, so I went for the drug screening on a Monday. So this would have been Monday of last week. I go for the drug screening. I go to the laboratory, had an appointment. And when I first initially get there, I noticed that the laboratory, they're 2 hours behind on their appointment. So I had to wait, even though I had an appointment. It was a lengthy wait to be seen. Thankfully, I'm the type, I drink a lot of water, and I had that benefit of being ready to be able to go for all those hours I had to wait. And I went very quickly. The main issue was the technician that was assisting me. She basically had her majority of her attention divided to her cell phone. She was texting somebody continuously. The paper that I had brought to them, she said that she does not keep that paper. Then I asked her if there's anything I take with me as basically a receipt, a proof of coming there. And she said no. So all in all, I took her word for it because it has been a lengthy amount of time since I've ever had to have lab work done. I want to say it's been over 6 years because the last time I ever had to go to an actual laboratory was when I was pregnant with our 6-year-old. And the only other time I had any labs drawn was when I was admitted in the hospital in the month of May. So I simply took her word for it. I figured, okay, possibly I think, in 6 years' time that the medical field definitely would grow rapidly on their processes and procedures that they do because, things can change very rapidly, even in the medical world, just day to day. So I kind of just left it alone. I didn't fight her on it. Come to find out, by that Wednesday morning, 2 days later, the recruiter contacts me and tells me that the lab has lost my specimen. So when I tell you, I was just frustrated and furious because to me, I'm thinking to myself, like, how can they lose such a thing? Because to me, that was as serious as if someone lost your blood. You know, if you went and had a blood draw and someone lost that, you are furious, because just as if you would have lost your credit card somewhere, you know, that is your identity. You know, that is part of your DNA when it comes to either your blood or your urine. So I was furious. I definitely did make a report with their corporate office to make them aware and for them to investigate. That way I can hopefully prevent that happening to someone else. But here yet again, you know, I have to work 10 times as harder than someone else going through this same process. So I had to actually go that very next day, that Thursday, and had to redo the drug screening. Thankfully, I did go to a different location. I did request from the employer to go to a different location. Thankfully, at that other location, the technician, she was very good. She was very professional. She did take the sheet of paper from me. So definitely that was number one mistake that the first technician did not make, was that intake sheet that I had. She was supposed to, in fact, keep it. And after everything was processed and my urinalysis was simply recorded, I got a copy, a proof of my visit. So I did get a receipt, if you will. So that was mistake number two that first initial technician made, was she did not give me a copy of my visit, of proof of being there. So thankfully, I just got the results on Tuesday regarding everything being cleared as far as my drug screening. You know, as I expected, everything came out negative. Everything is fine. So today I got my official word, my official email that between the background check as well as the drug screening, I am good to go. There is no problems. There is no issues. So yesterday I received my first set of equipment in the mail, and just today, a few hours ago, I just received possibly what is the remaining packages involved in my equipment. So that is why I'm in the office right now, because I am ready to kind of finish my eggs that are definitely cold by now, which I don't definitely mind. But I'm going to go through the equipment. That way I'm able to let my manager know. But I just wanted to be sure to update you all, because I truly, from the bottom of my heart, I consider all of you my friends. And I truly feel like in this whole scope of a better health journey, that definitely triumphants all aspects of life. You know, it is trying to better health your mental aspect. It is trying to better health your emotional aspect, your physical, you know, being comfortable in your own body, being free of any aches, any pains, anything that is simply ailing your body. But I also feel like the employment that you have, you know, what you do day in and day out in terms of employment, in terms of any activity that you're doing, all of those attribute to your better health journey. So that is why I definitely wanted to be able to share that with you all, because I know from the get-go I had mentioned to you all as far as going through interviews and turning down certain positions because they were complete lowball offers. For me, being someone that has degrees, I definitely could not belittle myself to some of the pay that other employers were simply wanting to offer. You know, I like to be the type of person that, you know, I like to take what I can get and hopefully I can grow from there. But for me, you know, for as much as I earned with my experience and with my education, I could not lower myself past a certain point. I just could not. So I'm just so grateful and so thankful that this employer definitely saw my worth and my value that I had presented to them. And I'm really excited. So my first day is going to actually be July 24th. And I'm so excited and so happy because it is the schedule that I was looking for. So it was simply just a Monday through Friday schedule. And the hours are going to be from 8 to 4:30, which I'm super excited about because my previous employer, I had to work a Sunday. So I did have a weekend day I had to work, and the hours were miserable. The hours were 2:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. So there would be times that I would get stuck on the phone where a call would come in right at 10:59 p.m. and I might be stuck there listening to this person rambling on until near almost midnight. So I am so happy that I'm going to be able to sit down and have a nice family dinner. I am so excited that I'm going to be able to have the weekends to just build memories with my family. And I am just so excited that I will be able to get a restful night's sleep to prepare myself for the next day. So every little bit of that definitely is going to help attribute to my better health goals. And that is exactly what I simply prayed for. So I had went to Catholic high school. So throughout that time, through Catholic high school, I was raised in a very strict Muslim household. So still yet, it was something completely new for me to learn because a lot of the scriptures were very different. But I have always been a bookworm, so I was very intrigued, just to have any sort of reading material, even for it to be the Holy Bible and to be a religious book. I am a bookworm and I am willing to just read anything and everything to just expand my knowledge. So I have it simply here because I don't want to butcher it. I want to be able to simply verbatim read a small little part of it. So if you are not the type that is religious, that is okay. I don't go to church every Sunday, so I am not extremely religious. I like to feel like I have my church in my home. So I'm just going to read it, and it is a scripture from Isaiah. And this is something that when I had read the Bible, this scripture stuck out the most to me only because of what I've been through in my life. So it is, no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. So I love this because it was not something that it was putting someone else, a higher being, in control. This is simply speaking on behalf of independently you. So I love this perspective because it was not having any expectation of a higher being helping you. It is simply telling you that you shall prosper. And it is simply telling you that anyone that tries to come at you with any sort of judgment, you will be able to condemn it. So I just kind of wanted to leave you all off with that before I get into my dinner later on. But I just feel like that is just so profound because when it comes to your journey, whatever your journey may be, whatever your goals include, you have it within yourself to be able to prosper. You have it within yourself that anything, anyone tries to throw at you when it comes to hurdles, when it comes to any negative vibes, you have the power within yourself to overcome it. So as you all know, I like my channel and I like my little corner of YouTube to be a drama and a stress-free place. So most definitely, I hope you all get that vibe off of me. So whether or not you are someone that is religious, I'm sure anyone can relate with this. So it's not something that I'm trying to come at anyone with preaching, but most definitely, I just want you all to know that it all starts with you. You have to want whatever goal or better health journey you want to grasp. It is up to you. It all starts with you. All right, my friends, so for this Thursday night's dinner, it is a little bit rainy outside, so I did not get to cook these outdoor, but that's fine. What I simply have here is some kebabs that I simply just put on wooden skewers. So make sure you soak your wooden skewers in some water prior to using them. It definitely will make sure that they are not flammable when you go to either use them on the barbecue or in your oven. So it's just a little bit of a kitchen safety tip. But the ground beef that I used was 7327 ground beef that I purchased from Aldi. And I used a little bit over 2 pounds worth. And just simply just shape them on these wooden skewers. So what I have here is some Greek yogurt. So it is the zero sugar Greek yogurt that I purchased. And it does have some seasonings, don't get triggered by it. I like to tell everyone that whether this is keto, ketovore, carnivore, we are a community. We are not a CULT. So my journey for carnivore is not going to look like yours. Same goes for anybody else's carnivore journey, anybody else's keto or ketovore journey. So you do you, depending on what possibly is not going to irritate you in terms of seasoning. So I simply just made this a Turkish style type of yogurt dipping sauce. So simply what I put in it was I put some salt, some Turkish sumac, and some parsley, and a little bit of garlic powder, and a very small amount of just some real lemon juice, and just stirred it up. And added just a pinch of the Redmond salt, is the salt that I had used. So basically that was it. I allowed it to refrigerate throughout the day. That way all those flavors can incorporate and can combine together. And that's what I'm going to use as my dipping sauce. So I don't feel bad about it because earlier today I did not have any dairy with those over easy eggs. So I went in with a little bit larger of a portion. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add a few of these skewers to my plate, and that's what I'm going in with for this Thursday night's dinner. Hello, my friends, and happy Friday. Currently, right now, I am definitely ready for going in with my first meal. So this right here is simply just 4 eggs. I do use my Ninja Foodi pot to be able to do hard-boiled eggs. The method that I like the best is the 4-4-4 method. So I simply just softened 1 ounce of cream cheese, added some Redmond salt, and simply just broke apart these eggs with those ingredients. So, I mean, it might not be consistency like some are used to. Obviously, if you use some mayonnaise to do an egg salad, it's very, very creamy. But this, as you can see, with just 1 ounce to those 4 eggs, it definitely gives a very similar texture to being egg salad. Right now I have not reintroduced actual mayonnaise that would be considered keto approved. Simply, I've just made butter mayo so far, but I was definitely not in the mood for making any butter mayo. So this definitely, in a pinch, was very, very easy to simply just soften 1 ounce of some cream cheese. So I'm going to go in with this first meal. It's a little bit after 1 p.m. So I'm going to go ahead and enjoy it and get some other housework done over here. All right, so I'm going to record this now because I definitely don't want to forget everything that I put in this cheesy, saucy mixture here. So simply right now, I'm convection baking some salmon fillets. They are simply just individual portioned out fillets of salmon that I get from Aldi. So they are in the frozen section. So simply what I did for this mixture is I had a little bit of some whipping cream. It is a farm fresh brand. I will definitely in the future be covering a video on this brand, but it is a farm fresh brand of whipping cream. I did have a small amount. I want to say it was like less than even like a quarter cup left over. I did an ounce of cream cheese, some butter. So the amount of butter I used, it was about 4 tablespoons of butter. And I did put in about a quarter cup's worth of some sour cream, and then I did use some of a hard block of Edam cheese. It's a cheese block that I purchased from Aldi. The spelling is EDAM, so hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly, Edam. So I did also use that as well, shredded it myself, dumped it in, and added a little bit of garlic powder. I did put some parsley. So as I said, when it comes to the seasonings I'm using, this is what currently right now my journey with the carnivore way of eating, or the proper human diet, if you will, that is what it looks like currently for me. You know, what it would look like for you, that is you, you do you, that is your journey. But this is what I'm going to go in with. Oh, and I did add a little splash of real lemon juice. And that simply is it, because obviously, you know, the little bit of lemon adds a nice little flavor profile when you are eating some seafood. So if you can tolerate some lemon, definitely, you know, add that as well. So I just want to be able to cover that with you all. Once the salmon's done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drizzle this on top, allow it to bake for a little bit longer to incorporate all of this nice cheesy, saucy goodness. So I just want to be sure to record this, otherwise I will most definitely forget all the ingredients that I simply put in this. All right, my friends, so this salmon definitely looks a lot more different than people see traditional salmon fillets. The wheels are always constantly turning in my head as I am cooking. So what I decided to do was I simply just smashed apart the salmon fillet with that buttery, cheesy goodness. And I did have some egg life wraps still left in the fridge, so I decided to just use them up. I simply just cut them into triangles, rub them down with some ghee, and just sprinkled some tahini seasoning on them, and I baked them in the oven on some parchment paper on a sheet pan for 300 degrees Fahrenheit for about, it took about 12 minutes. So generally this recipe at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, generally they say it takes about 8 minutes. My oven, it takes more, so 12 to 14 minutes to get a tortilla chip like consistency, just, you know, the way I like it, like a actual crispy chip. So I'm gonna go ahead and enjoy this while it is still hot, but this is what I'm going in with for this Friday night's dinner. All right, my friends, and happy Saturday. So for lunch, I'm going to go in with something really simple. We just got back from some grocery shopping, so I picked up these cheese wraps. So these cheese wraps are the folio cheese wraps that I just purchased from Aldi. So it's just cheddar cheese, and it comes with simply 4 to the packet. And here is the ingredients. So it's simply just pasture milk, salt, the microbial enzymes, and then just the coloring for the cheddar. So you can heat them up to make different things like a taco shell, taco bowl, but I just wanted to just remain cold. And simply what I have inside is just some deli turkey that I get from Aldi. So this is simply just the Aldi brand of the deli sliced oven classic turkey breast. So let me go ahead and show you all the ingredients. So this was on sale. It was marked down at $3.19. So this is an 8-ounce packet. So we're talking about simply just half the pound. But at $3.19 for half the pound for just these simple ingredients, it's definitely a good bargain. Because something like, for example, boar's head, you are upwards of $12 to $14 a pound just for their clean ingredient turkey. So at this being $6.38, if you were to get 2 packets to make 1 pound at $6.38 a pound, it is definitely not a bad deal. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and dive in, and stay tuned for dinner. All right, my friends, so for this Saturday dinner, what I plan on doing, because we did actually last night, we had a power outage for a little over 3 hours overnight. And then today we also experienced a power outage as soon as we got back from Aldi. So of course, once we come back with all our perishable groceries, of course the power wants to go out yet again. But thankfully it came back on a little bit after the 2 hour mark. So we actually went to Target. I have had my eyes on a regular Belgian type of waffle iron. It was the Dash brand that can make 4 at a time instead of kind of using a little, like the little mini waffle that are meant for chaffles. So this is definitely a chaffle, but it is the larger regular size of a waffle. So pretty much what the recipe is, it is 1 cup of your preferred cheese. The best cheeses that normally are suggested to use is cheddar cheese or like a mozzarella cheese, something that is going to melt rather quickly and easily. And it is simply just the 1 cup of the cheese to 2 eggs. That is simply going to make 2 regular size waffles, or it's going to make 4 of the mini waffle iron style chaffles. So simply what I did was I just did sheet pan burgers because it is actually storming here today. So that is what contributed to the power outage today. That kind of took the main power line patch job that they simply did. It kind of just knocked it all out all over again. So I was definitely ready to get home, get a hot meal going, but get something easy and simple enough. So I did use this Wisconsin extra sharp cheddar cheese that I get from Aldi. As you all know, for me, it's more of a bang for my buck to just simply just shred it myself, but it is their Happy Farms Wisconsin extra sharp cheddar cheese that I go in with and use. So I do have the burger salted with some Redmond salt. I did put some onion powder as well as some garlic powder. So as I always say, do not let the spices I use trigger you. You do you for your journey, just as I'm doing for mine. They do not irritate me, they do not cause me any inflammation, and they do not stall my better health goals. So I'm going to go in with this meal. I will definitely be having another. I did not, as you notice, add any cheese to the beef patty, only simply because I have that cheese in the chaffle. So I'm still trying to limit my dairy. I'm trying not to overdo it and not have too much of a delicious good thing. Hello my friends and happy Sunday. So what you see here before you is what I'm going to go in with for my first meal for lunch. So it's simply just a hodgepodge of leftovers from this tail end of last week's meals. So simply I just have 2 of the kebab skewers. I have some of the sheet pan burgers that I simply just added 1 ounce of cheese and 1 of the salmon cheesy fillet. And this I simply just put it on some aluminum foil and just broiled it in the oven to simply just heat it up very quickly. So this is what I'm gonna go in with for my first meal. All right, my friends, so for the Sunday night's dinner, I'm gonna go in with some of these chicken nuggets that I make. You can use canned chicken if you would like. I believe the canned chicken size, I believe it's about like 12.5 ounces that's sold at the store. It is a lot easier to use when it comes to your baking time because of course that canned chicken, it comes out a lot more dry straight from the can once you release the liquid. But I like to go in with simply just some ground chicken because the canned chicken prices in my area is really costly in comparison to what 1 pound of raw chicken is. So simply what I did was I did 2 pounds because I wanted to do a big batch for the family and I. So it's 2 pounds of raw chicken, 2 cups of grated Parmesan cheese, which I simply just grated myself from the block, and 2 eggs. So it is part to part with your cheese and your eggs. So simply if you're wanting to go in with just simply 1 can of canned chicken and 1 pound of raw chicken, whichever you prefer to use. You're going to go in with simply just your 1 egg, as well as simply just your 1 cup of cheese. So because I double batched it, I did 2 pounds, as I said, of raw chicken, 2 cups of Parmesan cheese, as well as 2 eggs. Simply what I did was I baked it on some parchment paper and baked it at 400 degrees. And because I like mine crispy and pretty much like a well done, I simply do 20 minutes on one side, flip it over, and I do 8 minutes on the other side, and it gets me the optimal doneness that I simply just prefer. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and eat this. I am gonna wrap up this video, so I just want to thank you all for watching. As always, I appreciate you all. And if this is the first time you're seeing my content, I hope that it encourages you to like and to subscribe so that way you can follow along on my journey. Thanks again, friends. Take care.